Bruce Willis. The man who made blowing stuff up look like foreplay. He didn't just star in action movies, he was the action movie. 1 part eyebrow, 1 part tank top, and 5 parts explosions. He turned grunting into dialogue, wore a meat toupee on live TV, dropped a blues album nobody asked for, and once demanded $1 million per day to show up and mumble. But somewhere between saving Earth from asteroids and refusing to wear a mask in Rite Aid, our beloved bald rebel went from box office king to the guy your streaming service recommends when it runs out of actual movies. And now, as his real-life battle with dementia unfolds, we roast not to mock, but to celebrate. Because sarcasm is love, wrapped in dynamite and duct tape. So grab a harmonica, crack open a wine cooler, and let's dive face first into everything wrong with Bruce Willis. Sorry to interrupt, but Bruce once saved the planet with a wrench and daddy issues. All we're asking is a click on the button. Yes, the subscribe button. Thanks. Before we start, listen up, guys. There was a time when Bruce Willis seemed indestructible. He wasn't just an action star, he was the action. The smirk in the face of chaos, the voice that cut through fire and bullets, the heartbeat of every scene he touched. He made us believe one man could save the world, with nothing but grit, a cigarette, and a sarcastic line whispered through bloodied lips. But in 2022, that voice began to fade. Aphasia! A word most of us had never heard suddenly became heartbreakingly real. The man who spent a lifetime delivering iconic lines was losing his ability to speak them. Then in 2023 came the cruel follow-up, frontotemporal dementia. A slow, silent thief that doesn't just take your words, but your essence. There's no explosion to stop it. No clever plot twist. Just the painful reality of watching a giant dim day by day. And yet, even now, he remains a symbol of strength. Because legends don't vanish, they echo. This roast, these jokes, the sarcasm, all of it. It's our way of holding on and pay respect. And remember, we only roast the ones we love. Bartender of chaos. Before he was yippee-ki-yaying across exploding skyscrapers, Bruce Willis was mixing cocktails like Tom Cruise's drunk cousin in Cocktail, but with more attitude and fewer acting gigs. That's right. Our bald-headed bullet magnet started his journey to stardom not with drama school prestige or indie darling films, but as a bartender in New York City. And not just any bartender. Bruce was reportedly the guy who could charm tips out of broke students and slap a slice of chaos into your vodka tonic. He used to work at Kamikaze, a legendary bar that may or may not have survived his flair for antics, ego, and look-at-me energy. He was loud. He was wild. He even claimed he learned how to act by bartending, which says a lot about both his performance range and the state of customer service in the 80s. Imagine ordering a beer and getting a full one-man show titled Moody Guy with Aspirations. The best part? He was actually discovered at a bar. A casting director spotted him being aggressively Bruce and went, "Yeah, this guy can definitely shoot fake guns and smirk through explosions." So next time you think actors come from theater or Juilliard, remember, sometimes they come from slinging tequila shots while yelling at jukeboxes. And somehow, it worked. Armageddon. Ever wondered what would happen if Hollywood physics got drunk and crashed into a Michael Bay film? Enter Armageddon, where Bruce Willis and his gang of oil drillers are somehow NASA's last hope to blow up an asteroid. Because naturally, if you're trying to save Earth from extinction, you send a team that can barely pass a bar tab, let alone astrophysics. Willis plays the gruff, blue-collar hero, because obviously there's no time to train astronauts to drill. But you can totally teach drillers to be astronauts in a week. The film was so scientifically atrocious that NASA literally uses it during training to point out everything not to do in space. We're talking over 160 inaccuracies, including the logic-defying climax where Willis stays behind to detonate a bomb on the asteroid. It's like Die Hard in space. with zero understanding of gravity, orbital mechanics, or common sense. But hey, at least Bruce looked tough in a spacesuit, right? Critics called it laughable, scientists wept, and the audience? They ate it up like a disaster-flavored cheeseburger. If there was an award for most gloriously stupid space mission ever greenlit, Armageddon wins by a mile, and Bruce Willis is its fearless, logic-ignoring captain. Die Hard, but for $1 million a day. Imagine being so rich and bored that you look at 4 days of work and say, yeah, I'm gonna need $4 million for my time. That's exactly what Bruce Willis did when approached to return for The Expendables 3. Stallone, the man who mumbles motivational fridge magnets for a living, asked Bruce to come back to blow stuff up, grunt once or twice, and go home with a fat paycheck. But Bruce? Oh no, he wanted $1 million per day. Not for a humanitarian mission, not to save cinema. Just to show up and play Make Boom Guy number 4 for less than a business week. Stallone, who has stared down Russian boxers and common sense, responded publicly, calling Bruce greedy and lazy. When Rocky Balboa is calling you lazy, it's time to reevaluate your life. And guess what? Bruce got replaced by Harrison Ford. Yep, a man who crashes airplanes for fun and still managed to out-hustle Mr. 1 Million a morning. This wasn't just a diva moment. It was the Tom Brady of cash grabs. Unnecessarily dramatic, expensive, and ending in a trade. And it didn't help Bruce's reputation in Hollywood, where directors were already whispering, just put his stand-in a hoodie, nobody will notice. He could have collected a solid paycheck, punched a stunt double, and called it a day. Instead, Bruce nuked his own role in a movie that's literally about washed-up action stars desperately clinging to relevance. It was basically autobiographical. But no, $4 million or bust. Spoiler alert, he busted. Bluesy misfire. You'd think Bruce Willis, action star, celebrity alpha, former underwear model, would have known when to say, nah, music's not my thing. But in 1987, he said, hold my wine cooler, and released a full-blown blues album under the totally normal, definitely not embarrassing alter ego Bruno Radolini. The album was called The Return of Bruno, despite nobody asking for Bruno in the first place. Picture Bruce crooning, respect yourself in sunglasses, and a harmonica solo that sounds like it got lost on its way to a karaoke bar. Shockingly, the album did okay on the charts, but only because the 80s were a lawless time when everyone was on cocaine and optimism. Critics politely pretended not to gag, while audiences were like, wait, John McClane sings now? It came with a full HBO mockumentary and everything, because why just flop when you can flop extravagantly? To this day, it remains a cautionary tale about what happens when celebrities mistake having fun for having talent. And no, Bruno never returned. Probably because even Bruce realized the blues shouldn't suffer like that again. Broadway Brawler? Broadway Brawler. The film so cursed, it never even got released. In the late 90s, Bruce Willis signed on to produce and star in this Disney-backed rom-com about a retired hockey player. Sounds simple enough, right? Except Bruce decided he was also the casting director, the script doctor, and, apparently, the HR department. Reports say he went full diva, clashing with the crew, clashing with the director, and firing nearly everyone involved. After enough firings to make Donald Trump blush, Disney finally said, you know what? Never mind. The entire project was shut down, costing an estimated $17 million before a single finished reel ever made it out alive. In the ultimate corporate shrug, Bruce allegedly had to agree to do 3 other Disney movies just to make up for the mess. So if you ever wondered why we got movies like The Kid, now you know. It wasn't destiny, it was penance. Hollywood has had some epic production meltdowns, but it takes a special kind of ego to sink a film by trying to run it like a fiefdom. In the battle of Bruce versus the crew, Bruce brawled and Broadway lost. Party hard, punch harder. Long before he was sleepwalking through B-movies, Bruce Willis was out here throwing real punches. In 1987, he was arrested for disorderly conduct after throwing a rager at his home that was so loud it gave nearby eardrums PTSD. When cops rolled up expecting to tell some frat guy to keep it down, they found John McClane himself apparently still in Die Hard mode, but without the charm or cause. Bruce, instead of apologizing or sobering up, decided to go full action hero, allegedly yelling, causing a scene, and even assaulting a police officer. Because when you've had too many wine coolers and a few bad scripts under your belt, why not treat law enforcement like they're on the villain roster? And this wasn't just a little stumble on the Hollywood drunk walk of shame. No, this was Bruce doing his best impression of a rejected Lethal Weapon subplot. Getting cuffed in your own home while blasting music louder than your career in the 2000s? That's a legacy moment. Of course, charges were eventually dropped because, surprise, fame, money, and a killer smirk are basically a get-out-of-jail-free card in LA. But it still set the tone. Bruce Willis was no longer the cool action guy. He was the loose cannon with a corkscrew. Let's be real. Getting arrested for partying too hard is what you expect from a college freshman, not a 32-year-old millionaire with a family and a film career. But Bruce made it look like method acting for a role he was never cast in. Cheers to that. The good day to Die Hard. If you ever wanted to see Bruce Willis slowly suck the soul out of two kind British hosts in real time, look no further than his legendary 2013 appearance on The One Show. Promoting A Good Day to Die Hard, a title he personally mocked while sitting there, Bruce delivered an interview that felt like a hostage negotiation conducted entirely in shrugs and sleepwalking sarcasm. Instead of hyping his new movie like a functioning adult being paid millions to pretend to care, Bruce mumbled, grunted, and gave responses so incoherent you'd think he was running a covert experiment on how fast audiences can change the channel. At one point, he paused to say the film's title made no sense, and that he would have preferred something like Die Harder 5, as if that would have saved it from being cinematic cardboard. The hosts? Saints. Actual saints. You could see the desperation in their eyes as they tried to coax anything resembling energy or interest out of him. It was like interviewing a vending machine, if the vending machine had passive-aggressive disdain for everyone trying to get a snack. The internet had a field day, with fans calling it the worst interview ever, and critics wondering if Bruce even knew where he was. Promotion? More like demotion. It was the exact moment the world realized Bruce Willis had officially stopped pretending to care. Jump first, think never. Before he was the king of direct-to-streaming boredom, Bruce Willis earned his action star badge the old-school way, by trying really hard to die for real. On the set of Die Hard, 1988, Bruce was determined to prove he didn't need no stinking stunt double. Who needs safety regulations when you've got pure, unfiltered 80s ego? Rumor has it that Bruce insisted on doing many of his own stunts, including jumping from a building using a fire hose, despite crew concerns. It looked cool on camera, sure, but let's not forget. Those stunts were extremely dangerous, and crew members at the time were reportedly baffled and borderline terrified. Insurance companies probably had stress ulcers with his name on them. Yes, the commitment gave us a sweaty, blood-covered everyman hero, but behind the scenes, it was just a guy willing to break every OSHA guideline to prove he was more macho than a bodybuilder on Red Bull. The problem? This reckless hero complex set a precedent that other actors then felt pressure to match, because Bruce made it look cool. Translation, he accidentally made dangerous stupidity fashionable. Sure, it helped launch him into superstardom, but let's not forget, he wasn't risking his life for art. He was risking it to say, yippee-ki-yay without a green screen. The man had a full-blown action addiction and no adult supervision. In hindsight, we probably should have let the stunt team do their job. But hey, at least now we know the die in Die Hard wasn't just figurative. Moonlight liquor and mistresses. In the late 80s and 90s, Bruce wasn't just playing charming bad boys on screen. He was allegedly living the role off-screen like it came with a free bar tab and a harem. During his high-profile marriage to Demi Moore, Rumors swirled faster than a tabloid printing press on espresso. Multiple outlets accused him of womanizing and cheating, painting him less as a loving husband and more as Hollywood's most charismatic escape artist. The couple's divorce was a gossip goldmine, with whispers of infidelity, ego clashes, and Bruce's apparent belief that "till death do us part" had a flexible expiration date, somewhere between happy hour and closing time. Oh, and let's not forget the alcohol. While Bruce eventually quit drinking and even starred in ads for Seagram's Golden Wine Coolers, the most aggressively 1980s beverage on Earth, many critics saw it as ironic branding, casting a guy with a party boy reputation as the face of, well, more partying. Genius marketing or a total PR fail? Yes. He was the poster boy for that era's mix of toxic, cool, aloof, cocky, probably on his fourth whiskey sour, and still wondering why his wife was upset. It was like watching a GQ shoot slowly spiral into a therapy session. So, while Bruce was charming millions on screen with a crooked smile and a wisecrack, his off-screen antics were less endearing rogue and more Vegas bachelor party that never ended. Spoiler, it eventually did. But not before burning through headlines, a marriage, and most of his early credibility. A Razzie all his own? How do you know your career's in the gutter? Easy. When the Razzies invent an entire category just to celebrate how bad you've become. In 2022, the Golden Raspberry Awards, the Oscars' drunk, bitter cousin created Worst Performance by Bruce Willis in a 2021 movie. Not Worst Actor, not Worst Film, just Bruce Willis. A whole award shelf reserved for his majestic fall from Die Hard to Die Already. This wasn't a nomination, it was a drive-by. He was nominated 8 times in the same year, for 8 separate performances. That's not a career. That's a cinematic crime spree. We're talking titles so forgettable they sound like fake names made up on the spot. Out of Death, Deadlock, Apex, American Siege. These movies had plots like Bruce sits in a chair and whispers tough guy lines at interns, yet still somehow made money on his name alone. Of course, after the world learned about his aphasia diagnosis, the Razzies pulled a full 180 and apologized, canceling the award and trying to look like they had a soul. Too late. The damage was done. Bruce was already the punchline. Sure, it's good they backtracked, but the fact remains. Bruce's acting was so phoned in, so robotic, that a parody award show literally couldn't ignore it. He didn't just hit rock bottom. He autographed it, filmed on top of it, and probably made $2 million doing it. Golden Wine Cooler, bitter aftertaste. In the 80s, Bruce Willis wasn't just moonlighting as a TV star on Moonlighting, he was moonshining too, as the sultry face of Seagram's Golden Wine Cooler. Yes, that's a real product, and yes, Bruce was paid a jaw-dropping $5 to $7 million to seduce Americans into drinking carbonated regret. The ads were peak Bruce. Sunglasses, saxophones, and so much swagger you'd think alcohol cured cancer. He crooned about the joys of wine coolers like he was channeling Sinatra in a liquor store. It was less of a commercial and more of a lifestyle warning. But the backlash was swift. Critics and watchdogs questioned why a major TV star and supposed role model was glamorizing booze to a nation already saturated with it. And just when Seagram's was ready to crown him the patron saint of day drinking, Bruce had a sudden change of heart. In 1988, he gave up alcohol entirely and ended the contract. So let's recap. Bruce spent years telling people to drink fizzy regret juice, made millions off it, and then went, actually, never mind. That's like selling cigarettes to kids, then opening a yoga retreat and claiming spiritual growth. The man cashed in on Vice and bailed out just in time to look evolved. And what did he do with that credibility? Immediately returned to playing sweaty cops who slam back whiskey shots in every movie. Because Bruce Willis doesn't quit a vibe, he just rebrands it. Cafe Society, more like Cafe Nope. Even in a Woody Allen movie, a cinematic universe where mumbling is an art form, Bruce Willis somehow managed to mumble too hard. In 2015, he was quietly dropped from Cafe Society after reportedly struggling to memorize his lines. And when you get fired from a Woody Allen film for bad acting, that's like getting kicked out of a mime troupe for being too loud. Officially, it was chalked up to scheduling conflicts, which in Hollywood speak translates to, we can't legally say he was a nightmare, but he was a nightmare. Reports later revealed Bruce just couldn't get the dialogue down. Not exactly ideal for a film that's 90% neurotic conversations in dim lighting. Now, to be fair, memorizing lines isn't easy, unless you're literally an actor, and it's literally your entire job. But by this point, Bruce had been coasting on grunts and squints for years. Giving him full sentences? That's just cruel. The kicker? He was replaced by Steve Carell, aka the guy best known for the 40-year-old virgin. So not only did Bruce get benched, he got replaced by someone who made their name yelling Kelly Clarkson during a chest wax scene. It was a rare moment when even a director with his own PR baggage said, "Yeah, I'll take literally anyone else." And Bruce? He went back to doing movies where he only has to speak 14 words total. Comfort zone restored. Red 2 and red-faced. Imagine being asked a sweet, innocent question about Studio Ghibli, a Japanese animation legend, and responding like someone just insulted your football team. That's exactly what Bruce Willis did during a 2013 interview promoting Red 2. A reporter gently asked about his opinion on Ghibli's The Wind Rises, and Bruce's answer, "I don't know what that is. I only care about football." Amazing. Truly. Give that man a medal for most American response ever. You're promoting a film in Japan, sitting next to your Red 2 co-stars who are trying desperately to engage with local media. And Bruce is out here treating the entire press tour like it's interrupting his tailgate party. Mary Louise Parker, sitting next to him, looked like she wanted to crawl under the nearest table and order a new co-star. Bruce didn't just fumble the interview. He spiked the ball, spouted gibberish, and lit the cultural goodwill on fire. This wasn't just ignorance. It was lazy, performative indifference. A man too cool to care about one of the most respected animation studios on the planet, but apparently deeply invested in the NFL? While promoting a movie where he shoots things and wears sunglasses indoors? It's like watching your dad try to order sushi in a barbecue joint. Loud, misplaced, and completely unnecessary. Bruce could have said anything. Anything! Even a fake compliment. Instead, he opted for peak, "I'm too rich to pretend I care" energy. Paparazzi. In 2023, Bruce Willis's wife Emma Hemming publicly asked paparazzi to stop yelling "yippee-ki-yay" at her husband in the street. And if that sentence doesn't scream, Hollywood has lost its mind, nothing does. The iconic catchphrase, once reserved for blowing up villains in Nakatomi Plaza, is now being screamed at a 68-year-old man trying to pick up his dry cleaning. And while the request was absolutely valid, given Bruce's desire for peace and privacy, it also exposed something darker. This isn't just fans being weird. This is the result of years of Bruce cultivating a public persona built on brashness, bravado, and confrontational cool. Let's not forget, Bruce wasn't exactly a media sweetheart. He had a long history of snapping at paparazzi, barking at reporters, and treating interviews like an endurance test for both sides. The message was always clear. Look at me, but don't talk to me. So now, when paparazzi shout action movie lines at him like he's a theme park animatronic, they're just giving him back what he spent decades dishing out. It's the ultimate karmic boomerang. You spend 30 years flipping the bird to cameras and grumbling one-liners like a sentient hangover, and eventually the cameras start flipping the bird back. Bruce wanted to be larger than life. And now that life is throwing his own movie quotes at him while he's trying to get into an Uber. If irony were a weapon, this one's a bazooka. Mask. In January 2021, the action hero who survived Nakatomi Plaza and asteroid collisions apparently drew the line at wearing a face mask inside a Rite Aid. Yep, Bruce Willis was kicked out of a Los Angeles drugstore for refusing to wear a mask during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, prompting public backlash and headlines like "Die Hard, Shop Harder." This wasn't exactly a nuanced stance. More like, my scarf is technically close enough, right? Spoiler, it wasn't. While he later issued a weak apology calling it a mistake in judgment, it came across more like damage control than actual remorse. It's almost impressive how someone can star in dozens of films where they save the day, only to make headlines in real life for not saving others from, a deadly virus. Between this and his reputation for grumbling through interviews, you'd think Bruce's pandemic survival plan was just standing 6 feet away from his own personality. Wearing a mask isn't that hard, Bruce. You've worn blood, soot, and tank tops from the 80s. A mask? That's where you draw the line? Straight to DVD. What do you get when you slap Bruce Willis's name on a low-budget, barely scripted crime thriller? About 30 films you'll find buried on page 12 of a streaming service you've never heard of. In the late 2000s and 10s, Willis flooded the market with so many direct-to-video disasters, fans started playing Where's Bruce? To see if he actually showed up on screen for more than 5 minutes. Spoiler alert, he rarely did. Often cast as a cop, a retired hitman, or a detective with exactly 0 lines of meaningful dialogue, these films were less about acting and more about cashing checks. Critics and former crew members alleged he used earpieces for lines and shot his scenes in a single day. They weren't so much movies as PowerPoint presentations with guns. And don't forget the Razzie nomination frenzy that followed. An entire category was created just to catalog his cinematic crimes. This wasn't Bruce Willis the legend. This was Bruce Willis the tax write-off. And hey, if you ever wanted to see what would happen if ChatGPT wrote a script, slapped on a bald guy, and added a budget of $12.99, these movies are for you. Meet Toupee Madness. Let's rewind to 2010, when Bruce Willis, famous for Die Hard, The Sixth Sense, and apparently bizarre fashion wrist, went on The Late Show with David Letterman wearing a full-on meat toupee. Not a typo, it was literal meat on his head. Playing it totally straight, Bruce pretended the disgusting deli disaster was just his new look and refused to break character, baffling Letterman, the audience, and probably every vegan watching at home. It wasn't satire, it wasn't parody, it was just Bruce being Bruce. Even Dave, who's seen it all, looked like he wanted to cut to commercial and call the health department. Maybe it was supposed to be commentary on celebrity image? Or maybe Bruce just thought, you know what this interview needs? Pastrami. Either way, it was peak cringe. This wasn't SNL. It wasn't Halloween. It was a fully grown man sitting under stage lights with meat juice possibly dripping down his neck. The performance said, I'm funny, but the execution screamed, expired cold cuts. Honestly, we're just grateful it wasn't summer. Gun control? Bruce Willis has some interesting thoughts about gun control. Mainly that Hollywood should stay out of politics, unless he's getting paid to shoot 200 bullets a minute while saving the world from Russians, aliens, or poorly written scripts. Over the years, Bruce has flip-flopped so many times, you'd think he was auditioning for Dancing with the NRA. In 2007, he argued that tougher gun laws wouldn't stop crime, and that blaming Hollywood for violence was ridiculous. Cool. But then he made his career starring in a franchise where one man and a handgun solve literally every problem imaginable, from hostage crises to jet plane takedowns. Willis profited big time from portraying gun-toting heroes, but when asked about real-world policy, suddenly it's all no comment. That's not nuance. That's corporate yoga, bending whatever way the box office tells you. At this point, Bruce's stance on firearms is as coherent as his later interviews. Loud, vague, and usually ending with someone confused. Maybe if real-life gun violence had a Hans Gruber, he'd care more. Spotlight Hog Supreme. The joys of teamwork. Unless you're working with Bruce Willis, in which case, good luck seeing screen time, unless your name is also Bruce Willis. Just ask poor Tracy Morgan, who co-starred in Cop Out and allegedly had to deal with Bruce rewriting scenes to make himself look cooler. Joseph Gordon-Levitt had it easier in Looper. He just had to contort his face into a squinting Willis impersonation the whole movie. It's one thing to be the lead. It's another to suck the oxygen out of every scene like you're still filming Die Hard in 1988. Castmates have described Bruce as aloof, controlling, and about as fun to collaborate with as a rusty fax machine. Instead of ensemble chemistry, you get The Bruce Show, starring Bruce, directed by Bruce, written by Bruce, and God help you if you thought your character arc mattered. Somewhere out there is an alternate cut of every Bruce Willis movie where the supporting cast got to speak full sentences. But nope, Big Ball Bruce needed more close-ups. Co-stars weren't co-stars, they were extras with IMDb credits. It's not ensemble acting, it's hostage-taking with a script. Yippee-ki-yay to the guy who can't share the camera. Mercury Rising's disability portrayal, Backlash. Here's a heartwarming thriller. Bruce Willis protects an autistic boy from government assassins. Wait, no, scratch that. It's not heartwarming. It's Mercury Rising, where subtlety goes to die and stereotypes rise from the ashes. Willis plays an FBI agent who discovers that a 9-year-old autistic boy cracked a top-secret government code, and now evil agents want him dead. Because apparently when a child with autism deciphers military-grade encryption, the government's only logical response is murder, not help, support, or, upgrading the software. Subtle. Advocacy groups weren't thrilled, accusing the film of turning autism into a plot gimmick instead of representing it with sensitivity or accuracy. The kid's condition is treated less like a neurological difference and more like a cinematic superpower, minus the depth or humanity. Think Rain Man, but with bullets and fewer ethics. Critics called it manipulative, tone-deaf, and emotionally exploitative. But Willis, he grunted through it with a steely jaw and a gun like it was Die Hard, Autism Edition. The movie tried to be heartfelt and thrilling, but mostly came off like it read half a Wikipedia article about autism and said, yeah, that's enough. And just like that, another Bruce Willis project missed the nuance memo by a galaxy. Trigger warning, Death Wish reboot. If you ever wanted to see a tone-deaf, gun-toting white guy solve all his problems by shooting minorities in hoodies, Death Wish 2018 had you covered. In the most awkwardly timed remake imaginable, Bruce Willis dusted off his stoic squint to play a Chicago surgeon-turned-vigilante in a movie so politically confused, it made Fox News look subtle. Directed by Eli Roth, because of course it was, the film was accused of glorifying gun violence and promoting a sort of bootleg Batman fantasy where due process is for chumps. Critics called it gutless, numb, and a movie only your uncle who yells at the TV could love. Bruce, meanwhile, turned in a performance so deadpan, it was hard to tell if he was acting or just waiting for lunch. The original Death Wish, 1974, had its own issues, but at least it had grit. This reboot was just Bruce mumbling threats and shooting people between commercials for Glock. In a country already drowning in gun debates, Death Wish was like tossing a Molotov cocktail into a Twitter thread. If nothing else, it reminded us that not every franchise needs a gritty reboot. Especially not one where Bruce Willis plays Charles Bronson with less charisma and even fewer facial expressions. Live from New York, it's painfully awkward. Hosting Saturday Night Live is like the Hollywood rite of passage for actors trying to prove they have range, humor, or just functioning charisma. So when Bruce Willis was booked to host in 2013, fans thought, hey, this could be fun. He's done comedy before. He had timing. What followed was a 90-minute hostage situation disguised as a sketch show. Bruce was reportedly cold, rigid, and as joyful as a tax audit. Cast members later described the week as painful, awkward, and a morale killer, which, fun fact, is exactly how audiences have described most of his post-2010 filmography. Some even whispered he was the worst host they'd ever had. Do you know how hard it is to earn that title in a building that once let Elon Musk and Steven Seagal on stage? The episode flopped harder than one of his direct-to-Redbox action flicks. The jokes? Flat. The delivery? Robotic. Bruce showed the same energy you'd expect from a DMV line at 4 p.m. He even tanked a sketch about a boy band, which should have been impossible. It was literally about not being able to sing or dance. That's supposed to be in his wheelhouse. Instead of poking fun at himself, Bruce acted like he was doing jury duty. No improv, no charm, just an actor playing a brick wall playing Bruce Willis. Somewhere, even Alec Baldwin probably cringed. It was a masterclass in how not to host a comedy show. And the real punchline? He never came back. Saturday Night Live didn't just burn the bridge, they napalmed it. And there you have it. What do you think of Bruce Willis? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.